Good evening once again. So, reading from Living Wisely, Living Well, September 26th, Swami Kriyanandaji writes, The desire for equality with others is a delusion. We are equal only in the fact that we are all children of God. Life otherwise is like a ladder. The lower animals are helped upward in their evolution by association with human beings. Relatively unaware people are helped upward by serving those who are more highly evolved. The caste system in India originally recognized these realities. It wasn't hereditary and was never intended to be suppressive. It simply indicated the right direction for humanity to develop, from body-bound, kayasth, to freedom from ego bondage. One moment in the company of a saint, it has been said, will be your raft over the ocean of delusion. The company of persons more highly evolved than oneself can be uplifting. In the case of the devotee who seeks God, saints are the best company. And best of all is it to be guided by a true guru. What a beautiful, beautiful practical guidance. Kriyanandaji took one entire page to enlighten us on these beautiful words. And it is important in our times, friends, to understand this. It doesn't take much whenever you're starting your day, and maybe do this minor experiment tomorrow to see how media, let's say print media, or if you follow online news, or your communication, let's say at workplace, wherever you go, or if you're a teacher, you're going to schools, let's say, where there is too much talk about equality. And of course, on one level, Yoganandaji would tell his disciples, he said, remember, God loves you just as much as He loves me. But he said the difference is I can feel His love and I have expressed my love to Him. Whereas he said you have to still fulfill that bond. You have to bring it to completion. And even the worst of sinners, Master said, is equally loved by God as much as he or she, you may say, loves Krishna, Buddha. Those were Yoganandaji's words. So on one level, it's like parenting. All children are equally dear to the parents. But when you see it from the child's perspective, often there is this elbowing. I am the better child. I am superior. Or for sure, because I meditate, I am more dear to God. And that kind of competition comes in our minds. It gives us either a superiority complex, sometimes a despairingly inferiority complex. It comes between religions. That is unfortunately how sects are formed. Entire cultures compete over these things, sometimes subconsciously, but it is because we live in a world of relativity, you might say. On one level, Kriyanandaji says comparisons cannot be avoided, and if they cannot be avoided, he said we might as well see them in the positive light. For example, in studying the life of a saint, or like Kriyanandaji is saying over here, anybody who is more evolved than us. You can put it very practically. Let's say somebody is a sports person. It would be almost foolish for a novice to not mingle with others who are more accomplished than him. He can learn wonderful techniques. I remember one time when I used to do gymming, this was close to 18, 19 years ago. And I was looking for a gym in Delhi where I was traveling momentarily. I was transitioning from that city. And I thought, well, I have a few days, why not do some gymming? And I went to a gym and I saw it was very big. And there was one gentleman and he was really, his whole magnetism in such a big hall, it was a big compound. I could just see I was drawn towards him. And I went up to him and there were, weights were all scattered around him. So I said, how can I strike a conversation now with him? There was a lot of difference between his physique and mine, you might say, and I could just see he was a teacher already on some level. And but I said, sir, do you mind if I clear these weights, if I can organize them? He said, oh yeah, thank you for doing that. And I started arranging it, and then I got that conversation started, and I said, by the way, I really like your posture and how your physique is. I'm just starting out would you mind sharing some things? He said, let me finish my routine, then I will. And I waited for him, and he finished his routine, and we were walking. And he was very friendly, and he was guiding me on a few things, how I can develop which part of my body. And because we had become friendly, I turned to him at one point and I said, by the way, your physique is so good. I think you should compete in competitions, and I think you'll win. And he said, oh, by the way, I have won Mr. India competition twice already. And it was so nice to see that. I forget why I was telling the story. That, yeah, how do we learn from others? What is the attitude? So, yeah, it would be foolish to ignore such a thing. Yes, I already had books. I had learned from other teachers. But like Swami is saying, one moment in the company of a saint can really give us that example. It can give us that experience. It can bestow the memory of a feeling. And whenever we are in doubt, we can recall that. And the blessings too. Saint Francis of Assisi lived in the 11th century in Italy. His fervor for truth through Christ, as he would pray, was so great that after 1100 years of Christ's passing, he would take a bodily form, come, guide, console Saint Francis every night at a certain stage of his life. So God can respond. That memory of a saint, of our guru, can bring us those blessings and that guidance, but that attitude of learning has to be very important. Now, I want to read, this is a rather lengthy thing over here, but Swami is saying life is like a ladder. The point I was saying is, you will see around in today's times there is too much talk about equality. Democracy is better than what the world saw in the dark ages, which fortunately we've emerged from. But democracy is not foolproof at all. Anyone who has studied it even a little bit knows it is majority actually mostly is wrong. And so if we try to base our understanding or direction in life by the fact how many people are supporting me, we are all equal, I know just as much as you know, Kriyananda ji said it doesn't work like that. Here we are all in a directional movement. Actually, once we come on the spiritual path, reincarnation, Yogananda ji said, must be sooner or later accepted, because it doesn't otherwise make sense. Somebody is perhaps born with a physical handicap, sometimes a mental handicap. How can they comprehend truth? How can they even apply themselves to, let's say, reach the same goal which others who are more capable in body and mind, in their feelings, they can accomplish? It's not possible in many cases. So there, when we start comprehending that, okay, religion might have the possibility of reincarnation and others, then Yogananda ji said you start to see how big this journey is. On one level, it is quite frightening. Even the saints declare that. But on the other hand, we decide how long that journey can be to quite a degree. If we say, why am I on this journey? Why are we all on this journey? What is the purpose of this journey? Those are very good questions to have. Then we can very quickly develop that understanding and accomplish the goal. The goal of life is not what you and I do, you might say, in terms of projects, in terms of a job, or even our relationships. Those are means to something else. We may say means to security, means to, but why do we want to be secure? To happiness. But again, that happiness goes perhaps with old age or untimely death or ever-changing, reactions of people, their mood changes, our own decisions change. So what stays permanent? The direction is permanent. When we move in that direction, we say we are all trying to move towards everlasting happiness, Satchitananda. And that, Kriyananda ji said, is a worthy goal. It takes a long time. That is why the caste system was formulated. Not so one could define his child by the same caste which he is in. Actually, one cannot even define his own caste permanently unless he or she is a Brahmin. Because till that time, your caste is changing. Let's say a Shudra, which is the first caste, is a person who is lazy. They can't help themselves. They are physically inert, mentally they don't have too much energy. If others request their help, they may think for a long time before they commit themselves, or they often say, I'll tell you, I'll let you know, let me think about this. One can spend decades thinking what to do in life without a direction, but the energy you see is so low that they are just starting on that scale, and hence, what can they do? If they can just associate on the next level. And it's very good for one to have a chart. It's like in medicine, I am a doctor, we have charts, we have parameters, we have a range of healthy body parameters and unhealthy. So one can see which direction we are going in and where do we want to go, and we can take necessary actions. So when you move one step higher, one can say, wait a minute, I can be a Kshatriya. If I help somebody and I ask for something in return, this is so much better than where I was earlier. So one may say, okay, I will come to your birthday, I will make you a cup of tea, I'll bake you a cake, but remember, on my birthday, you should also do the same. I will give you some money, but you should return the same. And you see, suddenly one's consciousness has expanded and he's interacting with more, he's relating with other people's reality, and he's being helped in the process. If you help somebody in need, chances are that when you are in need, they will come to your rescue. So it is a better state, of development. You might say, ultimately, we want to reach the state of yoga. So from being unable to help oneself as a Shudra, one has gone a step further to say, no, now I am able to help others also. Now, after a long time on that stage, and when we have overcome a natural insecurity, that what about me? That thought starts kind of gnawing, and you say, I'm not happy at every instance. I'm always thinking still about myself. It's a limitation. I feel limited in thought, in my risk taking, you might say, my ability to make friends. Then when we ponder inside, we see that we need to develop the next higher state of consciousness of a Kshatriya, where our very happiness depends on giving more than what we receive. Now, people, if you're surrounded by wonderful Kshatriyas or Brahmins, they will give you no matter whether you ask or not. But remember, I'm saying there is no expectation from your side. Your happiness depends upon serving, giving first. To the degree that people, as we all would know, are inspired to lay their lives. Because when that moment comes, they wonder, I really won't be happy thinking that I couldn't help my best friend, let's say with the kidney he needed, or with the, enemies are infiltrating my country, my friend's house, and people lay their lives very joyfully. It's a joyful offering, and one becomes a Kshatriya. But even that is not enough for our happiness. Finally, one has this thought, to whom am I giving my life? I'm doing it for, let's say, a country, but that country keeps changing every century. Now we have so much history behind us. We can see upheavals come, maps keep changing, territories are exchanged, broadened or shortened, divided many times. Who is this for? The people I gave my life for, they will ultimately die. And when we start asking those questions, we start comprehending, oh, we are all part of a very big picture where the goal, the biggest offering I have to give up is my ignorance, my limited ego, the sense of I am not this gender. People nowadays fight over gender equality. Both genders are equal. Now some balancing is required. Kali Yuga was overly masculine. The feminine tendencies are required. There has to be some equality of finances. Of course, I'm not saying we should not aim for those. But you see, friends, it is springing when you study it from inside of our own nature. Marriage itself is the purpose of marriage. The great yogis, Yogananda ji said, is to balance our nature. The moment you achieve that harmony with your partner, most mature couples would say we hardly have to convince each other of our love, our presence in times of need. And one becomes whole, you might say, through this process, the caste system, through marriage, through a proper friendship. And that is the kind of equality where in our soul we find that balance which we are seeking. Now, Yogananda ji said, we should seek spiritual company, as Kriyananda ji is also saying over here. It is extremely important. That, you might say, is the final destination. We take time to discover that. In the beginning, the soul, when it is put into motion by God, it is cast out as a mineral, as a stone, diamond, you might say, a metal. That is some incarnation, however long that lasts. It is very long. Fortunately, the scriptures say, Yogananda ji used to say, that God sleeps in the stone. So it's not like if you pinch me, a stone called Aditya will start wincing. It doesn't care. It's not aware enough to experience that, or it doesn't care, like I said. When that soul, after many, many years, moves into a plant life, you see it starts moving more. Its sensitivity to heat and cold and food and nourishment and sunlight increases. As you can guess, the scriptures say the next stage is the animal incarnation, little bit more evolution of ego, feelings. And finally, when we become a human being, spiritually we may think, oh, I'm such a distance still. But remember, friends, look back at what a marvelous journey we have already come through. And like I said, a little discrimination, a little understanding of the need of self-offering, the need for a guru, the need to practice those things, the need to seek equality not outside. People compete. He or she serves more, I serve less. I meditate more, they meditate less. X, Y, Z. Yogananda ji said, Ramana Maharishi, a great saint of South India in the previous century, he had a very evolved disciple, Mr. Paul Brunton, and Master said he had attained Sabhikalp Samadhi, in which we offer the ego during meditation, but when we come out, we receive it back. It is still with us, and we have to make a complete offering still to attain the state of Nirvikalp Samadhi. Master said he was not able to accomplish Nirvikalp Samadhi because he had this thought in his mind that he's an Englishman. Now, be ready to give up those identities. I was reminding my own self as I was preparing, I am not this. We are playing the part of this gender, but it's good to contemplate at the end of the day, why am I born a man? Why am I in these circumstances? What am I trying to learn? Am I feeling the state of harmony and yoga through my prayers, through my service, through my devotion, through my meditation, where we can burn a lot of this karma, through the grace of a guru? God, who has created this panorama, this vast journey on one level, wants us to appreciate the journey, not to keep meandering over there. But the only way to come out is not through wailing, not through wishing, but by calm understanding and saying, Lord, very well done. Oh, how well done. What a show, what a novel, what a movie. In this lifetime, Lord, let me play the role you have in mind for me. Because roles don't matter. You could be a king, you could be a pauper. You could be in India, sadhus who barely have a clothing. They used to be called, still do, are called Maharaj because they are greater than the king in the sense. If they have accomplished this inner battle, if they have won that battle of self-conquest, then that is the goal. And they lead the light. They lead clarity. They bring clarity. So what a joyful message Swami is sharing. I'll read one or two lines from this beautiful passage. And he's saying we are helped by serving those who are more evolved than us. How do you know somebody is evolved? By their sense of inner freedom, by the equal love they give to others, by the joy they emanate, by the optimism they may have. And we want to do that. We want to understand what the caste system is really about. At one point in the monastery room, I made a small chart and I would keep it in front of the bed. So when I woke up in the morning, my eyes will fall on these 4 categories and I would tell myself, where am I today? And we may ask this question, where am I in this moment? And as I said, don't be too hard on yourself, but keep that directional approach. That is what it is all about. God has set the soul into a directional journey and we are trying to fulfill it. And Kriyananda ji says, best to be guided by a true guru. Today's Lahari Mahashaya's Mahasamadhi day. He found the goal that we all are seeking on this blessed day many decades ago. Let us pray for His grace. It exists. It can traverse space and time to come and help you and me and all who call for it. God bless you always.